Okay, little topic to throw in here in response to some questions about the posted solution. I didn't actually do it in the posted solution, but students were commenting about how difficult they found the challenge was of getting the correct information on the index view, right? Now, correct is a loose term I use here because it depends on what the priorities are of the client and what you can fit and make it reasonable to view, right? So I've just thrown this up here, good little topic to round out the week with as well. Index view, too many columns, right? You know, the index view is there to give as much information as is critical for the end user so they can scan up and down the records, find the one that they're after, right? Identify it by the key information displayed and so on, okay? And then go on and work with it in some way. If they need more detail than what's possible to fit on the index view, well, as long as all of the properties are, for example, on something like details, that's okay. You don't have to have everything on the index view. In fact, you probably shouldn't. You've heard me say before, my rule of thumb is like 5, at most 6 columns of data. And if you can get away with less than that, that's often even better, right? So what we'll often do, as I've mentioned this before, start by leaving out some information, okay? A lot of things, don't have to be on the index view. They can wait till the user clicks details and goes and looks at them there. Obvious things are like large, text blocks, right? Descriptions, notes, things like that. But anything else that can kind of wait till you've identified the record you want to focus on can just be taken off altogether from the index because it's always available everywhere else, right? So anything that can wait to be revealed, take it off. Now, what about other things? Sometimes there's too much information the user wants to be able to scan up and down and look for to identify the record that they need to focus on. Well, something we can do, some are going to be more important than others, and we want to maintain a responsive feel and presentation of our application. So it might be enough to play with the display properties. Let me click this link, right? Aha! I should have set that up. I thought I did. Okay, I think I fixed it now. So when I click this, yeah, the display property in Bootstrap is very versatile, can be used in a number of situations. Let me point out, you know, basically how it works, right? You have display dash value, okay? You can have your breakpoint and the value can be all kinds of things. Look at this, table, cell, table, row, okay? Well, it's table cell we're going to play with most of all. Now remember, of course, uh, uh, we always have our different breakpoints, small, medium, large, extra large, and even double extra large, right? Which correspond to different screen sizes or widths in particular, okay? So that's something we've looked at before. So lots of examples here, but I have my own ready for you to use, right? Basically, add something like this, class D-none. So it means that's what we start off with, uh, the default, and then basically medium table cell. So if it's medium or above, right, then it will be visible. Otherwise, it'll go to the default of none, no display. Okay. Now, if you're going to use a class like that, it has to be in both the TH, the table header tag, the one at the top of the column, and the table data tag inside the column itself, right? For the individual cell. And let's just add the same class into both. And then from then on, it will hide and show as you need it, right? So remember, you can change, they don't all have to be the same. You might prioritize then that, well, this one could disappear first. I need it the last, right? So you might make that something like even extra large. As soon as you get down below an extra large screen, that one's gone, right? And then keep on prioritizing, okay? Something that simply always has to be there for the data to be meaningful, you wouldn't even put one of these in because it'll always be there and that's that, right? So different columns can disappear at different sizes, setting your priorities and away you go. We'll have a quick look at how we might do that. I took our posted solution. Now this isn't in the posted solution as it is now, right? But if you come down here, what I've done is for the columns we have, okay, I've said for each one, all right, the actual function, okay, that description of the function, the date and time and the name and so on for it, that's always going to be visible. So I don't even put anything in here, right? But then I start prioritizing, well, you know what, the type of function, that information, you know, that could wait, we'll fit it in if we can. So if it's large or above, right, we'll show that, okay? Now the guarantee number, that's pretty important for the user to be able to glance and see that, gives them an idea of the size of the function, right? So if it's a small screen or above, I want to guarantee that's visible, okay? Now the listing of what rooms are booked, okay, that's the lowest priority to keep on the index view. So only a full screen display, double XL, right, will actually even show the rooms booked. Okay. Now the customer, I'd call that medium, right? It's pretty important. Not as important as showing the guaranteed number. Certainly not as important as the name of the function. But if we can at all fit in on, we'll leave it as visible. So I've set my priorities basically that way. Now just make sure you come down into the table and do the exact same classes, okay, for the table data cells as you actually did for the table heading cells, right? And as long as you do it that way, let me just run this now. So I think this should open in a full screen, right? So if I come to functions, basically it's all here, okay? Everything is visible. But as I shrink down the screen here, let me just get it off of full screen, right? Oop, yeah, see, I already lost something. So on a full screen, extra wide, full width, I should say, double XL as the screen size, everything is available. As I start going to smaller and smaller screens, notice the first one to disappear is rooms booked, right? And there it is gone. Can I live with that? Well, if this is the biggest screen I have, I probably can. As I keep going down, the next thing to disappear should be the type, right? So as I come down, now you see there was nothing disappeared. It was just a rearrangement, okay, by Bootstrap to kind of keep everything on the screen. Get down. Okay, now type disappeared, right? Because we got below a medium, right? Or onto a medium size, and then customer will disappear, right? So we just have the guaranteed number. Now, if we go right down to like the smallest screen, okay, eventually everything will disappear except for the one that we've set the maximum priority for. It's always visible, right? Now, if you really want to, you can set a minimum width for this column or use smaller little icons for the edit, details, delete, lots of options there. But in any case, you see the effect, right? Larger screens, we get more and more data available, and it certainly makes it much more readable in a responsive fashion. All right, so that's basically the demo. I'll just leave you with this final thought as a question. What if the client insists that certain information is vital to have on there all the time? They don't want, there might be some things can disappear depending on the screen size. So go ahead and use this approach. But if there's a minimum amount and it still just doesn't fit and allow you to have it be very responsive, let's assume for a moment they probably want it responsive, which these days just what everybody does. What can you do? What other options can you employ? Okay. Well, another approach that we will play with later on in the course is have the whole table disappear. And instead, what you show on the screen is just a bootstrap grid, okay, where each row or record is shown in a card, right? So you can have the header in the footer, you can put your links for like create, edit, delete, and so on. And in the body of the card, you can show whatever vital information they need, right? And then the cards can very nicely just be stacked on top of each other on a very small screen. If you do have a larger screen, right, you can even show them in rows, like 2 cards, 3 cards across in a row before you start the next card down and so on. So we'll explore that option later in the course. But in the meantime, quite often simply hiding, lower priority cells, show them if you have room for it, but then take them off if you don't. It's a very nice way to build your user interface, right? Okay, a little tip for you. By the way, I have the same information up in tips and tricks under our content categories as well.